Can you tell us about that running back competition?
Yeah, it's been very good. I think all those guys have had flashes, and obviously last year I think there was everybody knew that Brees was going to be the tailback, and then now having the opportunity with I think these guys are all kind of chomping at the bit and have been, and really all four of those guys have done a really good job and have all had some really, really good days, and probably most proud that group has been very consistent throughout the entire camp.
What's the significance of having a 1,000-yard rusher?
I think probably first and foremost, it shows that you have the ability to run the football, and that you at least have made a commitment into running the football, which is certainly a big deal, and one, obviously from an attitude standpoint, but I think just in terms of opening up the other opportunities in the passing game, and making you certainly two-dimensional and having the ability to run and throw the football. But I don't know if there's a premium on where or how we get the yards, as long as we can get the yards, whether it's spread out between a lot of guys or one guy. But I certainly think it's for the offensive line, it's a point of pride to you feel it's something that's certainly noteworthy and good. But I think primarily it's just that, hey, you've established that you have the ability to run the football.
I mean, what was that? The year that Brees didn't have 1,000, whatever, he had 897. Either you or Matt kept him from that by not playing so much earlier.
Let's blame Matt.
yeah, okay, good. But yet, the position group as a whole rushed for 1,700 yards.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a great point. I mean, certainly you love to have that for their own accolades, and but I think as long as we're getting the yards and that we're attempting to establish that and hopefully establishing the run, I think that's always been a belief of Coach Campbell. And I think in college football, it's certainly, and really in any level of football, I think having the ability to run the football it's a huge deal.
How's Remsburg being out shifted? What you guys got to do up front?
Yeah, I think it's given us some it's given us some chances to look at what are maybe some other combinations, and then it's given Travers been in there playing a little bit, Tyler Morrow's been in there, so it's been good for us to get an opportunity, honestly, to get some of those guys some reps with the first team guys and working different people together and moving some people around. So obviously it's not something we're happy about right now. But I think in long term, obviously it gives us a better idea of what else is out there and how, what else can we do if things like this exist down the road.
Wasn't it last season where you ended up replacing tackles with guards or guards with tackles or something like that, and you were just essentially finding anybody that was healthy?
Yeah. Last year we had, really a kind of a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
And all kind of in the wrong time. There's never a good time, but just kind of the way it went, and we ended up moving a lot of guys around and trying to find what we felt like, hey, gives us this week the best five, and I think there was a bunch of different combinations throughout the week. Obviously, you don't want that, and you want as much stability as you can. I think if you look, and look back on it, it never feels good when it's happening. But I think as you look forward to this year, there's a lot more guys that have had at least some meaningful playing experience, which is always valuable, whether they've gone in for a little bit, for a couple of series, and maybe some things. There's a difference between playing at the end of a game as an offensive lineman or a guy that's in there in meaningful snaps, and it's third down and it's really, heating up. And so I think some of those guys got a chance to do some of those things last year that hopefully has at least provided them some confidence and belief going into this year.
We talk a lot this time of year about who's winning jobs and all that, but with the new quarterback, new running back, how valuable is this time as a play caller to try to figure out what the rhythms are going to be once you get into games here in a couple weeks?
Yeah, it's I think we've tried to simulate some of those things just in terms of how do you feel you're playing, how do you and I think being around us long enough that I think every week is a little bit different, and maybe our style of how do we feel like we have to play to win the game, and obviously we play great defense here, so that always plays a factor as well. And we've tried, I think to simulate or mimic the different scenarios that could come up. I think Coach Campbell does a great job of putting our kids in situations and coaches into situations that will come up in games. How do we handle those things? How do we handle those situations? And then also, which I think you're kind of alluding to, is just how do you play normal down and distance? What's the flow of the game? And, what are the strengths of not only the quarterback, but what are the strengths of the offensive line, the running backs? What style do they play? So we have spent, I think, a ton of time, trying to figure some of those things out. We feel like we have a grasp on it because, there are a lot of new players, at a lot of different positions. So that has been something that we've paid attention to and have tried to figure out the best answers for us early, going into the season.
What aspects of Hunter's game have impressed you the most as he's progressed through fall camp?
Yeah, I think, and I think I'm not surprised, but I think his intelligence, his study habits, I think he has a great idea of what he is seeing on the football field. He can relay that to you and really give you useful information and feedback that, Hunter has been here for a while, and I think, those years, one, going against Coach Haycock's defense every day in terms of, scout team and those kind of things, those are, you might not be making all the reads, but those are, full speed reps that he's gotten for a long time. And obviously he's played meaningful reps. And seeing Coach Haycock's defense, there's a lot of stuff going on a lot of the time, and so I think that, his general knowledge of what goes on. But I've been really impressed by his study habits. He doesn't miss much, and he really has put in the effort off the football field in terms of, paying attention to the meeting room and then taking those things and, kind of expanding on them once he gets out on the football field. And so that has been really good. Obviously, he's a very talented young man and can do a lot of things, throwing the football and running the football. But I've been probably most impressed by just his overall command of what's going on.
Has anybody separated as far as two?
We're still working on that right now. Yeah, it's been a dogfight. Both those guys have done a great job.
If there's a next level for Xavier Hutchinson, what does that look like?
That's a hard question.
He's done a lot.
Well, he has certainly done a lot, but I'm most impressed by what he does day to day. Every day goes really, really hard. He's a real team football player, which I think sometimes at that position is not always the easiest thing to find. He has pushed himself to be very good, and his work habits, his routine is very impressive. So I think we'll see, whatever we see, I think we'll see that is the best effort. And, he's made a ton of plays in camp. He's been extremely impressive, but just as a teammate and as a guy to be around, he's been phenomenal. And really, he's been phenomenal from day one till right now. And that's probably why we have felt like there's an improvement week to week every season. You look at the first year he was here, you felt like he just kept getting better. And then last year, you kind of felt like he just kept getting better. And quite honestly, I kind of feel the same way now because of the work that he's put in.
To go back to Deckers, is he in a dwindling situation in that he's a third-year guy as a first-year starter where you're going to see less and less of that either right now or going forward with guys either leaving programs or coming into programs?
I don't know. That's a good question. I just don't know.
I'm trying to even think who you guys have had it, probably not.
Yeah, I think the quarterback position's a really interesting thing nationally. It's there's a lot of transfers, I think, at quarterback, and they're getting recruited younger and younger, and there's a lot of things that go into it. And I don't have the time or the intelligence to worry about what else is going on out there. I know we're really happy to have Hunter, and I'm really glad that he stayed here and studied and tried to be the best version of him that he could be. So, but I know what you get. I just don't have an answer. You know what I mean?